Hello everybody, we are making this video to give you information that we consider value when talking about SLA, Second Language Acquisition. Evelyn is going to start talking about language forms.
Thank you, Maria. Well, language forms include phonology, phonetics, morphology, and syntax. What is phonology and what is phonetics? Phonology is how human beings interpret sounds, including patterns, syllables, and intonation. In other words, it deals with how the sounds are organized. For example, cat, count, have the same sound? It all depends on the pronunciation. Phonetics. It refers to the study of the sound of speech. It includes speech organs and the smallest part of the sounds, phonemes. For example, the different vowel sounds, cat and foot. On the other hand, morphology deals with the study of the structure of words, morphemes. In other words, word formation. For example, the word construction has the prefix count, which means together, the base struck, which means build, and ion, which means act of. Syntax deals with the study of the structure of sentences in language. It establishes the rules to put the words together and create sentences correctly. For example, the sentence "he paints poster" is right because meets the structure subject plus verb plus subject. After this analysis, I can say that this information is fundamental for teachers because that knowledge allows us to provide effective teaching, apply the appropriate approaches, and it helps the students increase their motivation through communicative activities that allow them to have language and linguistic awareness. Thank you.
Thank you. Now that we know one of the subtopics to be discussed, let's move to the second one. We have the factors and stages that SLA has. Margarita and Wilson will first explain us the factors.
Of course, Marianne. Factors that can influence in second language acquisition. This is a little resume of an affective filter hypothesis. A learner who is tense, angry, anxious, or bored will screen out input, making unavailable for acquisition. Thus, depending on the learner's state of mind or disposition, the filter limits what is noticed and what is acquired. How to lower the affective filter in the classroom? These are examples. Providing a classroom where students feel safe to talk in their own relaxed language and allow mistakes first, but do not orally correct them when they are speaking. This is more important. Another topic is providing interesting topics for students. If you have students who like sports, animals, you give them an article about sports or animals. Another factor is the age. How the age affects second language acquisition? The age is an important factor for SLA, where we can see the critical or sensitive period where the older you get, more difficult to become around the puberty. Affective factors such as motivation, anxiety, self-confidence, and other individual characteristics are seen by some of particular responsible for difference between adult and child language acquisition. And the next factor is anxiety. The effective language teacher is someone who can provide input and help make it comprehensible in a low-anxiety situation. Dr. Stephen Christian. The lower anxiety is when the better loan acquisition because anxiety should be zero. Stephen Christian demonstrates when you focus is completely on the message, what the other person is saying, and the conversation gets so interesting, you temporarily forget that you are using another language. In that moment, you are acquiring. Thank you.
Hello, dear partners. To continue talking about factors, I am going to present an interesting topic called input. To know its meaning and how input works in second language acquisition, we have to take into account some specific parts. First of all, I would like to mention its importance. Talking input is everything that learners hear or read. Through them, learners can develop their skill by gaining vocabulary, grammar, and improving their pronunciation. The second part, comprehensible, mean understanding and interpretation. On the other hand, brain is focused on the message. That means to acquire a second language, educators must apply some strategies such as guessing words from the context and inferring meaning. Furthermore, association is another strategy where learners look for words that are similar in their mother tongue. Carro in Spanish and car in English. Visual is another good example. Children learn sounds. They not only listen to the sound, but see the sound, make and feel what their mouth is doing. For example, the letter P, M, and K. Another characteristic of input is the intake. It is vital to mention providing a guide practice with learners through strategies and techniques make them memorize or remember, understand, analyze, and evaluate all that they learned to produce the second language naturally. The last part I consider extremely important. Talking about the classroom directly comes to my mind the teacher role. Planning is a wonderful tool in the processes of learning, and it must be flexible and organizing, thinking about learners' needs, and obviously creating a good environment. In conclusion, I may say that inputs focus on learners' needs and what the students can do with it. Thank you so much.
Awesome information. Let's listen Jennifer and Guillermo talking about the stages.
Second, stages of language acquisition. While learning a new language, there are 5 main stages that one goes through on the some points. Each stage requires a different experience on times, depending on variety of criteria such as the student's age and ability, attendance, and intensive language integrations and level of motivations to learn a new language. Stage 1, pre-productions. This is when small had a silent times to learn it may have a vocabulary of up to 500 words, but they cannot get communicate with others. Some may just repeat everything they have heard somewhere. They don't actually create their own sentences, they just retell them. As it usually happens with children in the first language acquisition stages. These students who have just begun to learn a language that is new of them. Second statements, early productions. During this period, which can last up to 6 months, students can increase their vocabulary to about 1,000 words, and the first statement, students can often communicate in 1 or 2 words sentence, just as children do when learning to speak. Thank you.
Stage 3, speed emergence. At this stage, students already know over 3,000 words and can communicate effectively using basic phrases and sentences. They can usually still ask grammatically incorrect questions, but are already engaged in short dialogue with their peers. They can understand simple fairy tales and read instruction with illustration. Stage 4, intermediate fluency. Students who have reached intermediate fluency have an approximate active vocabulary of 6,000 words. They increasingly use complex phrases both orally and writing, and are increasingly willing to express themselves and share their point of view. They ask questions to better understand what they are studying. The students use the tactics of their native language to learn the new language. A student at this level will also be able to understand more complex ideas. Stage 5, advanced fluency. This is the last stage of learning a new language. The student needs from 4 to 10 years of studying to achieve academic language competence in a second language. At this level, students are expected practically fluent in the language as a native speaker, while At the initial stage of this stage, students need constant guidance from teachers, especially in subject areas such as history, social studies, and mathematics. To conclude, we can say that studying a foreign language goes through several language acquisition stages. When you analyze your result, you can understand what stage you are and take some advantages. Use comprehensive teaching methods and never lose motivation. Thank you, Marianne.
Thank you all. To finish, I will tell you about something a bit controversial because today there is so much more information and how to obtain it. But for example, in our country, it isn't yet complement. We are talking about fluency. And what is it really? Fluency refers to the capability to express oneself easily and accurately in different contexts through unlike speaking styles. It's an intersection of speed and accuracy, but it all depends on the context in which we communicate. This means that a person's fluency can be in a specific area either because of the confidence they feel when speaking it or because they dominate the topic. However, we can develop our students to have the ability and fluency in different areas at the same time if we apply feasible strategies for their learning. I would like to tell you some words. You don't have to practice fluency or communication. Just do it. At the beginning, I didn't understand this, but I remembered that I used to believe the more grammar is practiced, the fewer mistakes in general. I mean, the students won't have errors, but as you can see, that is not true. We hope this information is useful and together we can change the way of teaching English in Ecuador. Thank you very much. See you soon. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.